Good afternoon and welcome into WEEI just after 1 p.m. here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, August the 10th, 2025. Dan Bahl with you. Thanks so much for being here on this Sunday. If you're joining us on the flagship, WEEI here in Boston 93.7, hello to you, as well as those listening on our affiliates in the Cape, Providence, Rhode Island, Springfield, Worcester, Portland, Maine, as well as Keene, New Hampshire, Claremont, New Hampshire, and White River Junction, Vermont. If you're not listening on any of those, you must be joining us on the Odyssey app. Make sure you've downloaded that if you haven't already. It's free, which is great. Not a lot of things in life are free, so you might as well grab that. But you can listen live, you can listen on demand, and of course some of the great original content coming out on WEEI.com. No matter where you're listening right now, and we appreciate that if you are, you can join at 617-779-7937. That is the phone number to call and to text. I'm with you 1 until 3:10 this afternoon, but hang around because I'll have you for the Mass Mutual pregame show. Red Sox and the San Diego Padres playing the rubber game of a series that I think started in a way that maybe a lot of Red Sox fans weren't expecting. Yesterday was a lot more of what I was expecting as a fan of the Boston Red Sox, which was a close series with a team that is really one of the closest comparables in terms of standing and record and where you are in your own division in the wild card race. The Padres and the Red Sox are very much in lockstep, but they're also a very interesting kind of sample in terms of what teams do versus not do at the trade deadline, because Craig Breslow essentially did nothing, and A.J. Preller once again did the most. And you kind of saw that on display on Friday and Saturday. Later on, we'll talk about the New England Patriots. They're back on the field right now. Some interesting rumblings coming out of camp today, including another wrinkle in the Patriots' secondary roster battle. Kyle Duggar, not a part of the starting group as the team took the field on Sunday, taking second-team reps at the safety position. Craig Woodson continuing to get considerable reps with the first team. Looks like he is quickly closing in on being a starter. We'll talk about the Patriots and all the takeaways from their preseason opener against the Washington Commanders coming up in the 2 o'clock hour leading into Red Sox baseball. I was going to start more general Red Sox, but then as I was coming in and chatting with Zach Coe and listening to Christian Arcand, the topic of the Roman Anthony contract extension came up, and I heard many a Red Sox fan giving varying opinions on good, bad, should he have done it, should the team have done it, the many different angles that you can observe on the Roman Anthony 8-year contract extension. And the question that came up was, how is any member of Red Sox Nation, any Red Sox fan, how do you have anything negative to say about this? That blew my mind, hearing any kind of dissension on locking up a guy that, despite 150, 200 at-bats at the major league level, whatever the number is right now, is already, fair to say, the face of the Boston Red Sox. I know, Duran's very popular. Bregman has become very popular. Garrett Crochet is the pig, and you have some other guys that are vying for that spot, but Anthony's the future. That is the foundational item of the Boston Red Sox, and now he's here for 8 years. And you did yourself some pretty good financial favors from, say, age 27 on. I want to put this in context. First of all, on the side of Roman Anthony, I think this makes sense for a couple of reasons. First, there is an impending lockout that is absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, going to happen in Major League Baseball. The Players Association and the league and the owners do not get along in terms of how the money is structured in Major League Baseball. And we already got a taste of that with the story coming out, I think it was 2 weeks ago at this point, that Bryce Harper of the Philadelphia Phillies basically got in a shouting match and told the commissioner of Major League Baseball where he can shove his idea of a salary cap in the league. And then apparently, if you read that story further, then Manfred went from the Phillies clubhouse at home to the Red Sox clubhouse on the road, and apparently had a bit of a different tone when he was talking about it. Lucas Giolito was pretty funny, saying Bryce must have done a number on Manfred because he came in and was a lot more tasteful in the way that he was talking about it. But we're a year and a half, whatever it is, away from that potential, and you already have a face of Major League Baseball in Bryce Harper cursing out the commissioner of baseball. So part of this is I really do think that Anthony and other players in his age range, in contract status, are probably going to look at an impending lockout in Major League Baseball and go, I need to guarantee I can get what's mine, because I cannot be left out in the cold having to wait through an arbitration hearing that may or may not even happen if we're not going to have a season. So I think part of it, and maybe you can even track that back to the Christian Campbell extension that was signed at the beginning of the season, I think part of it has to do with that. You also just got to look number to number. So I looked at an outfielder that you hope Roman Anthony will be at very best, because, again, the escalators in his contract are where he finishes in MVP voting, how many All-Stars he gets. That's elite, top-of-the-league type accolades that both the Red Sox and Anthony are expecting him to be in contention for in the years to come. So I compared his contract situation with that of an outfielder who did not sign one of these kind of cost-effective extensions, but then ended up securing the bag once he was a potential free agent, and that's Aaron Judge. So Judge, going into his first season of arbitration, age 28, made just over $3 million, $3.148. Roman Anthony is now scheduled to make $8.265 million in that same, what would have been the first year of arbitration. So Anthony, that would have been his age 24 season, which also, can we just appreciate what this kid is doing at the age that he is doing it at? It's insane. So anyways, Judge at that same year, after going through the first year of arbitration, made just over $3. Roman Anthony is making $8. Second year, Aaron Judge, just over $10 million. He would then go on to win a Silver Slugger that year. Roman Anthony, $15.625. So already you've got the total cumulative cash that's gone on in Anthony's career up to $34 million. It grows to $53 the next year, because in the final year of arbitration, Anthony is scheduled to make $19.6 million compared to $19 on the nose for Aaron Judge in that final year of arbitration. So to that point in the contract, Anthony is making considerably more than the very best at his position to that point in his career, and he has the security of knowing that, all right, I'm still getting mine regardless of what happens in terms of labor disputes and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, that brings you to the point where he would have reached free agency, which for him would be age 27. He's making just over $23 million, 25, 29, and then the club option for 2034 at age 30 for $34 million. And that is the point where I would expect Anthony and the Boston Red Sox to get back to the table and resume negotiations and hopefully spread out some money on a massive contract extension that will keep him here for a very long time. I would be stunned. I would honestly put it at 100% certainty that another more lucrative contract is agreed to somewhere in that 2-year span after Anthony would have exited his arbitration eligibility and would just be a free agent. And hopefully he has done everything that the escalators in his contract are dictating that he would do, which is be a competitor for the MVP, be a consistent all-star, be a face of your team, face of the league. Hopefully, if things go according to the way the contract is structured, everything should be accomplished to that point. There are some pretty lucrative final years in that deal if he's able to do what you're expecting him to do. So it does probably cost him a little bit of money. If you're going by a contract of $40 million a year for Judge that he signed coming out of that arbitration, I don't think you're looking at, a Juan Soto type contract necessarily. But if you got to the open market, you never know, especially at age 27, just going into what you would expect the prime to be. You're costing yourself some money on the back end, but you are certainly making exponentially more than your peers right now. So there's security, you're making money in the front end, and I really just think that there's going to be some kind of agreement that comes in those years following arbitration to where this is all a moot point. Zach, where do you fall on this Anthony discussion? Because I was very surprised to hear the level of dissension that was coming out from this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, if he turns out to be the player that you were expecting him to be, that comes with, like, Jeff Passan comparing him to Juan Soto when getting asked for a comp, then ideally you just tear up this contract towards the end of it and be like, all right, here's $400 million, like, continue to be the face of our franchise. Like, I don't think it's, like, it's obviously his 100th percentile outcome, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we're talking about in 10, 15 years from now, Roman Anthony being one of the, like, best players in the franchise's history.
That, I mean, first of all, I would love every single bit of that, just dropping any guise of journalism and telling you as a Red Sox fan. I hope that's exactly where this goes. Or I hope he's at least on a similar trajectory to where we are talking about him as well. This is the best Boston Red Sox player we've seen in a very long time. And then you make up for any time that was lost with a massive contract, hopefully, that keeps him here for the rest of his career. Like, I know, again, we're talking about the ownership of the Boston Red Sox. So I know as soon as he gets anywhere close to needing a new deal, of course, the natural pessimist in me, seeing the likes of Betts and Bogarts leave, makes me wonder, all right, what does that look like? If he is a face of baseball, if he is a consistent all-star MVP candidate, do we have to go through a painful negotiation, potential divorce? Do we have to? I heard a caller mention the potential of trading him. If we even get into the realm of having to do that with this kid, I will be once again beside myself, but I won't be surprised because unfortunately that precedent has been set by the Red Sox time and time again in this post-2018 era of baseball. So all of that is certainly on the table when it comes to this contract for Roman Anthony, but to hear anybody who is disappointed or doesn't like the fact that he's here and he is now a part of a foundation that I think is proving to be pretty exciting. Crochet and Bayo at the top of your rotation. Bayo a sub-2 ERA since June 1st, and he's a mid-3 ERA guy since the All-Star break last year. So that's hopefully your one and at worst your two, and maybe depending on how the offseason goes, Joe Ryan, then maybe it's a 1 blank and then a 3. So you have that. Garrett Whitlock is locked up. You hope maybe he is an impact pitcher, if not your closer of the future. And then you're built up the middle. Cedon Rafaela locked up. Christian Campbell locked up. We'll see where he ends up on the right side of the infield, but he's locked up. And then Roman Anthony, a part of this thing as well. So all of a sudden you have some very important, impactful pieces. And you have your face here. You have your face of the franchise here, extended, and clearly, and this is what it told me more than anything else. Anthony wants to be in Boston. He wants to face the pressure of being the face of the Boston Red Sox. There are very few positions in Major League Baseball and of sport that carry more pressure, more expectation than being the best player on the Boston Red Sox. In terms of the size of the fan base, the passion of the fan base, the fact that the fan base is crazy enough to listen to sports radio on a Sunday and hear all the good and the bad and the ugly that has to do with the team. There is so much that comes along with that, and he's taking on that challenge head on. And he's proving to Red Sox fans that he wants to be here. He's probably pretty well aware of the franchise turnover that has happened in front of him. The faces that have gone on to have varying levels of success in varying other markets, and he's proving to you that he wants to be here. Thank you. Do not miss him one bit right now, by the way. Not even one singular bit.
I have a small take.
Small take? Go ahead.
I do still miss Rafael Devers.
Okay, tell me why.
So I know a lot of people have said that his success in San Francisco, he hasn't done anything and the team is kind of cratered in front of him. But this is a guy who signed with the Red Sox at 16 years old as a fan of the team and only knew that organization up until he was traded, 2 months ago now?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, well, he's gone to San Francisco and hasn't done anything. And I put more onus on the ownership group and Breslow and Cora to handle things better. And the DH spot, it's another platoon position, but Masataka Yoshida out of these 2 games hasn't really given you much of anything. And it just allowed Breslow to kick the can further down the road on this outfield logjam, which I am fine with them not dealing with at the deadline if they weren't going to get a controllable asset. But I just think the presence of Roman Anthony, Alex Bregman, Rafael Devers in your lineup is so much deeper than what you're actually trotting out, and I think his performance would be more reflective of what it was in years past and even up until this trade if he were still here.
No, the physical presence of the bat of Rafael Devers is something that this offense is certainly it misses, and I think it's probably gonna show through if this team gets to October. I 1,000% agree. And I also am very cognizant, and we'll talk about this next, if Alex Bregman isn't here for the long term and you lost Devers and then lose Bregman out of all of this dissension that came out to begin the 25 season, this is a disaster. That is a mark against Craig Breslow that and above him that will not soon be forgiven or forgotten by fans of the Red Sox. This is not a nuanced take. This is not something that's backed with numbers other than wins and losses and vibes, which is not a quantifiable thing, and I really don't like saying it, but I love this team so much more. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy sitting down with my dinner after producing WEEI afternoons and watching the Boston Red Sox exponentially more now than I did with Rafael Devers on the team to begin the season. And look, that's probably a pretty pink hat and very shallow way of looking at it, because I know he is an impact bat that should make other bats around him better, and I fully recognize that. But I was so gosh darn sick of having to worry about which Raffy we were getting today. Are we getting the one that's hitting walk-off bombs? And just being the lovable, happy, hitting home runs, Raffy, that we, grand slams against the Braves. Is that what we're getting? Or is there going to be something else that makes me want to tear my hair out and make me wonder, why do I put in the time? Why do I care? It's when I'm watching a team led by a face of the franchise that is selfish and immature and doesn't care and won't do what it takes to win. This thing was bungled at every level of the organization. Ownership, front office leadership, manager, player. Everybody came out of this looking worse. And when October rolls around and you're proven to be one bat short, I'll probably, Zach, be on your side and go, yeah, I really could have used Rafael Devers as your DH. No disrespect to Masataka Yoshida and Rob Refsnyder and Will's homie Gonzalez and all the guys that have been rotating through that. But we probably could have used one more bat. And I think that's fair. But for the time being, whatever was removed in terms of the stuff behind closed doors that we'll never know and never see, that seemed to, with the addition of Roman Anthony, which I think is also important because those kind of happen around the same time. Let's just keep all of that in mind. The removal and the addition, allowing for the natural power dynamic of Story and Bregman and the growth and emergence of the youth, Marcelo and Anthony being guys who, according to Alex Cora, the veterans go to. The veterans gravitate to the young guys. That's not a normal thing, but it seems to be the kind of thing that has just galvanized this group. And we'll see where we are in October. We really will. And I hope that this team still has plenty of aspirations to get to October, and we'll see what happens when the rubber meets the road. But for the time being, Rafael Devers is in San Francisco. Roman Anthony is the face of the Boston Red Sox, and that contract, woo boy, barring any injuries or disasters that are unforeseen, is going to look pretty darn sweet moving forward for the Red Sox. That's one contract extension that has been done. There's another that may take a little bit more time. Another guy who I would regard as hopefully a face of the Boston Red Sox for years to come, Alex Bregman, gave some less than enthusiastic answers about signing a contract extension with the Boston Red Sox. We'll talk about his contract situation after Zach Coe gets you caught up on what's trending. Oh, yes, it is fun watching Alex Bregman play for the Boston Red Sox. Save for that whole, injury issue that kept him out about a month and a half, whatever that number was. The rest of it has been great. And even the part when he was injured, let's be real. I mean, he was not contributing to the Boston Red Sox while he was hurt on the field. Off the field, I mean, you watched all the kids. They'd run around the bases after their home run, and then they'd scamper back down into the dugout, and they would go directly to Alex Bregman to go, hey, what did I do? How'd I do? What can I do better? Well, what should I avoid? he contributed seemingly off the field during that injury as much as any coach, any longstanding member of the Red Sox, and as much as that was not helping the team win games on the field in terms of the stats that he could put up, it still seemed like he was contributing. Back here on WEEI, Dan Bahl with you. It is 1:30 here on this Sunday, beautiful Sunday, hot Sunday, but still a very nice Sunday, talking about Alex Bregman and the Boston Red Sox. Catching up on some text, but first, Zach, who was that home run from Bregman hit off of?
That would be newest Red Sox pitcher Dustin May.
Just want to make sure, because you said that in my ear, and it was too funny not to say on the air. So that's okay. I mean, May was great when he pitched for the Red Sox. Anyways, a 978, me too. No, I was a big fan of Devers, but Devers isn't hitting anything right now in San Francisco and says he'll play first base for them, but not us. He wasn't putting the team first. It grates on you. And he's not Judge Ohtani, Bobby Witt-esque in the way that he hits. He's a very good hitter, but when it comes with all of the detractors, like it grates on any normal human being is going to get sick of that. How can you say it misses it but scored 13 runs the other night? It was 10. Can we stop, please? Sox literally second place, 2.5 games up on New York. And I'm not gonna argue against the fact that this team is having they're at the top of the roller coaster right now, but isn't it well established that the Boston Red Sox are inconsistent and they go as the momentum of the top of their lineup goes? So if Duran goes quiet again and Anthony has, the rookie slump that every rookie in baseball history has had, then Story can't carry you consistently by himself. Abreu cannot do that. Like it's a momentous offense when they're going, and they've been going recently, and they were going on Friday night against San Diego. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but Devers does have that big swing ability that I would not really say any other player on this team. The ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark at a moment's notice. Does any other player on this team have that as consistently as Devers would in a situation in October where, as has been well established, you have very few, I should say, members of your team that have any experience dealing with the pressure of October. And think about what a potential October this year would be for the Boston Red Sox. They haven't been there since 2021. Fans are rabid enough in the middle of August and late July watching a Friday night game in the City Connect uniforms with Cedar Rafaela hitting home runs and all that kind of stuff. They're already rabid enough now. If they play well enough to get into October, you're going to be able to cut the tension at Fenway Park with a knife. And then you're relying on rookie Roman Anthony, third-year player Cedar Rafaela. Your veterans are Jarren Duran at that point, and Garrett Crochet will be pitching in the playoffs for the first time, and Brian Bayo, and your only playoff veterans at that point are Alex Bregman, which is important, and Walker Buehler and Aroldis Chapman. Other than that, that's more or less it in terms of high-impact Red Sox players. So, again, it's a guy who has been through 2018, been through 2021, and can hit the ball out of the ballpark. I don't miss him right now, but I think the argument that Zach brought up that I think is a very prudent one is that come October, that could be a bat that when you look at the season at large, you may end up missing. What's up, Zach?
Yeah, and I don't think it's a shot at the current team to say that you miss Rafael Devers' bat. Like, their offense has been very good. You mentioned it; they're inconsistent. I just think they could be a better team with Rafael Devers still on the roster.
Right. Exactly. And it'd be, if hindsight was 2020, and you were honest and forthright with Devers from the beginning about your intentions to either sign Bregman or acquire Nolan Arenado, whatever you ended up doing, be interesting to see what this offense would look like. But hey, we're here. Red Sox are, a bunch of games over 500 again, and it's been a lot of fun. Back to the text we go at 401. Dan, with you, or with all the you get players on this team. Okay. It seems like a no-brainer to play. I think youth was supposed to be in there somewhere. No-brainer to pay Bregman. He's a leader and a teacher. I'm right there with you that of all the members of the Boston Red Sox right now that are currently without contract extensions, Bregman is number one, and I think there's a pretty sizable gap before you get to number two in terms of who I would want you to lock up long term. So that brings us to a conversation that was brought up by Tim Healy of the Boston Globe, friend of the program. Tim Healy, always good to converse with him. Alex Bregman wants to wait until after the season to talk contract extension. That was the headline. Tim Healy pulling no punches with his headline. You know exactly what we're getting into with that one. Obviously, we're open to talking, Bregman told the Globe, but for the next few months, I'm just really focused on baseball. I'm just focused on trying to do what I can to help this team win and get into the playoffs. I feel like that's where my head and my mind need to be. His agent, the always lovely Scott Boras, said in June that he and Bregman were, quote, always open to any conversation about a longer-term deal. As is the case with many players mere weeks away from hitting the open market, however, Bregman now is content to hold off on that. Just want to do everything I can every day to try to help this team win games and keep my mind focused on that, preparing to play baseball. Couple things on that. First, I would like to direct you to a quote from, let's call it Q1 2025. The latest news regarding the state of talks comes from a recent interview Crochet sat down with Alex Spear of the Boston Globe, where he revealed he was not interested in continuing extension discussions into the regular season when it begins on March 27th. This stuff comes out in the media all the time. Crochet was not interested in an extension. He signed an extension. Or his agent signed an extension. His agent got him to sign an extension. Roman Anthony did not agree to the Christian Campbell-esque long-term deal going into the season. Seemed pretty focused on just playing baseball. And he, too, has signed a contract extension. So I love Tim. He does great work for the Globe. I know him back to both of our days in New York, respectively. And so I think that the quotes are certainly coming from a good place from Bregman, but they're also not accurate. Because if the Red Sox bought out, essentially, the remaining 2 years that he has to either opt in or opt out of at $40 million, and then tacked on 4 or 5 additional years and rounded it. My number was, and maybe this is a little rich, but I think he brings so much to the table. My number was 7 and 210. That was my number for Alex Bregman. Zach, thoughts?
Done. Yeah, done.
Absolutely. Sign it myself. I can't give him 210, but I can give him the $20 I have in my wallet just to make it $210 million and $20. Absolutely, I'm signing that. And the naysayers against a potential Alex Bregman contract. By the way, I want to know if you want Bregman here long term. 617-779-7937. And I want to know if you don't want the Red Sox to entertain extension talks. I want to know why. I really do. So let me know. Either call or text, and I'd love to engage in that discussion, because I think the naysayers, if I were to predict what that conversation would look like, it would be you'd go to injuries. You'd go to, well, he had one calf injury in Houston that kept him out for, I think it was 56 games. And then he comes to Boston and he has the same injury on the other calf. And that also kept him out. And I would push back and go, yes, that is accurate. And at a certain point, if it happens multiple seasons in a row, you start to wonder, is a guy who is not the biggest guy going to wear down at a more exponential rate than others? But I would push back and go, A, he did everything he could to get back early, and he's currently playing, or at least was coming off of the injured list at less than 100%, but was clearly putting in all of the time and all of the effort to try to get back. So there was no question about the dedication that he had to getting back on the field as quickly as possible. And B, and more importantly, you have to have veterans somewhere on this roster. Like we've had this conversation time and time again. With all of the youth that you have and are expected to continue to have, your core moving forward is Abreu, Rafaela, Duran, Anthony as your 4 outfielders that you need to sort through. That's young. You have Christian Campbell hopefully coming back up as either your first or second baseman. You have Marcelo Meyer, who is your second baseman and maybe your shortstop in the future. And Narvaez as your catcher, who's 26 and technically a rookie. And then in your rotation, you have Crochet, who is doing this all for the first time, their second time, I guess. Brian Bayo, who is extended but still very young and becoming a true every fifth day starter for the first time this year in his career, like a mid-4, high-4 ERA guy that wasn't going to cut it. There is so much youth everywhere. At a certain point, you have to lock up some veterans. You have to, and what more can Bregman bring as a leader of the Red Sox for people to accept that they should be signing him long term? On the field, dog. Off the field, teacher, leader, confidant, a right-hand man to Alex Cora, honorary bench coach. And maybe when Cora moves up as your president of baseball operations in a couple years, maybe Alex Bregman retires at some point and is the manager of the Boston Red Sox. Who knows? Him, Rob Refsnyder, and Jason Varitek. Those are your three. That's your leadership group of the future when Cora moves up to the big office, because I will not let that die. That is exactly what's going to happen. And when we talked to him around the trade deadline, maybe it wasn't us. I think it was on WEEI Afternoons weekly interview with Alex Cora, talking about how he was in the room for the first time, in the room at the trade deadline for the first time, just observing for his own benefit, is kind of how he put it, for his own learning purposes. Yeah, pal, you got your eyes on the big office. Don't try to sneak that one past the censor. I know exactly what's going on up there. I mean, he's taken enough guff and enough bullets to last a lifetime as the manager of the Red Sox, so I'd love to see that. Anyways, that is a digression back to the point about Alex Bregman. What more? Injury included, even in a season where just being on the field availability perspective, he left a lot to be desired. Where are any naysayers about Alex Bregman? I never hear a singular negative word about this guy, because I think he's more than made up for the injury that he had with everything he did off the field and everything he's done around it, going back to when he first signed here. And I would also argue that I think Bregman and Boris together are a very smart tandem. He knows exactly what his PR is going to look like if he goes on a bus on a Monday with a bunch of rookies and then goes and buys them suits. He knows. So some of this is calculated, but it's working. It's helping. It's doing the right thing. And every time, Zach, you made this point during the break, every time he's asked about being a member of the Boston Red Sox, up until this quote with the Globe, every time it's like, I want to be here. I want to, this is where I want to be. I love playing here. I love playing with AC. Love the kids. Love Anthony. Love Meyer. Want to be here and continue doing what I'm doing. So let's get to that. So my main overall point on this is I know that those quotes probably gave people some pause, because it was right down the middle. It was not, I'm leaving. It was not, I'm staying. It's just, I'm going to play, and then we'll see what happens. This is not new, and this is not rare. This is simply a leverage play from a player, probably on the advice of an agent, to try to drum up interest and get something done that benefits both sides. So we're getting a little late in the year for an extension to be done, but I would not be overly surprised to see something get done ahead of the stretch run within the next month. And we kind of saw the same thing happen with Crochet, and to a lesser extent, Anthony. So I still think that there's a very good chance that we could see something long-term. And if it buys out those next two opt-outs and you just kind of put all the money together and say, here you go, here's the honorary C on your chest as the captain of the Red Sox and the leader of hopefully what's going to be a very fun era of Red Sox baseball, Homer Honk implied, then I'm all in on that. 617-779-7937. Continuing our conversation on the Boston Red Sox. We will pivot to the New England Patriots at the top of the hour, because it was a less than ideal return to the field for Drake May and the offense today. The defense had some good. The offense certainly had some bad. But before we get to that, an interesting potential honor coming to Fenway Park in the years to come. We'll talk about that next. Back here on WEEI, and I can tell my man Zach Coe is trying to power his way through the remainder of the Dan Ball program because he's been here since 8 this morning. So he's gotten KJ Carson, then Christian Arcand, and then myself. So we're playing some bangers here on this Sunday afternoon. Talking about Alex Bregman and the Boston Red Sox. We'll get to the news update about Fenway Park in just a moment. Talking about Bregman and the potential extension. So Zach, I want to bring you in on this because you did a little bit of research about a guy who I think's his situation is somewhat comparable in terms of the age where he signed his extension, the position, and that is Matt Chapman. What'd you find on that front?
Yeah, so I went to look to see if Chapman had any similar comments to Bregman before signing. He's a Boris guy, third baseman, similar age, like you said. He ended up signing an extension on September 5th, 6-year, $151 million of last year, after saying like a lot of the same messaging. They know I want to be here. I'd love to be here. I love it in San Francisco. Like I want to be a Giant for the rest of my career.
Right.
Things like that. And ultimately they did end up getting the deal done a little bit later into the season. So if anything, it gives you a little bit of hope that things could still get done.
Absolutely, it does. 6 and 151. So that is a 25.16 repeating $1 million average annual salary for Matt Chapman. And so my number that I put out there was 7 years, $210 million. It's $30 million when you average it out. But if you include the 80 that is supposed to be paid to Bregman over the next 2 years, it does average out to where you're in that 25 to 30, or you're in that 25-ish range for the final 5 years of the deal. So it pays him what he agreed to in his first deal while also paying him more market value for the remaining 5. It still puts him as the 5th highest paid third baseman in terms of average annual value. The guys in front of him, just for context, because this position low-key kind of stinks right now, and that's proof positive that Bregman was an all-star. Despite missing a month and a half with an injury, he was still an American League all-star. Anthony Rendon makes $35 million a season. What a world. Nolan Arenado at $32.5. He signed that in 2019. Then Manny Machado at $31.8. Rafael Devers, $31.35, if you can even call him a third baseman anymore. And then Matt Chapman at $25. So it slots him in right between Devers and Chapman in terms of average annual value. Bregman is a better player than Matt Chapman. He's a better leader than Matt Chapman. He's a champion, which Matt Chapman is not. And I know to the texter who said one word, cheater. Let's all relax here a little bit with that. Like, yes, these guys are going to carry that with them for the rest of their careers, but that has no impact whatsoever on the conversation we're having right now. It should have it should have none on him. And if you want to keep throwing that for Alex Cora, then I can't help you, and I hope you live a peaceful life outside of your complaints about those guys. So that's where I landed. That's where I landed for Bregman. 7 years, 210, and it puts him right amongst the best, but not the best at his position. And I think that makes both sides, I would think that makes both sides happy, because Bregman was pretty interesting during the offseason beforehand. He was pretty adamant that he wants to prove that he can play in a market for a long time. Like he signed this deal because the market for him wasn't great. I think he kind of misjudged what the free agent market was going to be in 2025, but he still has aspirations of playing long-term in one market for the remainder of his career. And you're playing for Alex Cora. You're playing at Fenway, where he just demolishes the baseball. And you're playing in front of a fan base that is even more passionate than a very good fan base down in Houston, and who love you. And you're playing with players and young players who look up to you and who consider you to be a leader despite having been here for half a season. All that makes sense for Bregman, I would argue. But is the price right for the Boston Red Sox? We'll certainly figure that out. 617-779-7937. A report from Sean McAdam to work in very quickly. There's a feeling in the industry that Fenway Park will most likely host its next All-Star game in 2029, the 30-year anniversary of the 1999 All-Star game at Fenway. That makes a ton of sense. I am a little surprised it didn't happen sooner, but technically it is supposed to go everywhere in baseball, so I kind of get that. But I love every single bit about that. And it kind of sets up a pretty intriguing stretch, because this year Atlanta I like the city. I like the team. I like the jerseys. Atlanta stunk this year. Their fans dropped the ball in a major way in terms of them being the backdrop in the venue. Like, as the All-Star game went on, people were not there. And that stinks because it was a truly unique once in a lifetime to this point moment, having the swing off at the end. But much like Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and the real faces of baseball, fans had left by that point. So I'm hoping that baseball can kind of catch a little bit of a wave because they're going to Philly next year, which should be pretty awesome. Then they're going to Wrigley in 2027. The contenders right now for 28 apparently are the Giants in Oracle Park, as well as the Blue Jays and the Orioles. I actually would kind of be intrigued by Toronto because they quietly love their baseball up there, and they just did a really nice job redoing the Rogers Center. I just got a face back behind the glass. Why? What'd I do?
Such a boring park for it to be.
Yeah, but I feel like the fans would make it a really interesting event. You got the whole country of Canada that would be trying to make this a marquee event.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like something about going to Philly and then Chicago and then Toronto. It's just like it's like a sad trombone after you get through those two.
Which one? So out of those, how would you rank those three? Giants, Orioles, Blue Jays for 2028.
Probably in that order.
Giants. Okay. That's totally fair. I was so disappointed by the fanfare or lack thereof in Atlanta that I'm kind of employing a bit more recency bias. Now that I think about it, having a home run derby into McCovey Cove would be pretty sick. I would, if I was Rob Manfred, I'd say you have to be left-handed to participate in the home run derby that year, and then you just have a line of canoes out there, and then Fenway in 29. So if you get 28 right, you could have a pretty great lineup of All-Star games coming up, and it would be so. I wouldn't even want a ticket in the ballpark for the home run derby. I just go stand on the street, just go hang out, find a place to spot up. Have a nicely concealed Yeti for whatever you're drinking, and just go scramble and truck people for home run balls. I think that would certainly be a lot of fun. So that's the update on that. Really hope that does come to fruition, and I do trust the Red Sox to put together a doozy because that 1999 All-Star game was incredible. Your winning pitcher and your MVP being Pedro. The losing pitcher, ironically enough, was Curt Schilling being on the Phillies. But that NL lineup where Pedro had 5 strikeouts over 2 innings. Barry Larkin, Larry Walker, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Matt Williams, Jeff Bagwell, Mike Piazza, Jeremy Burnitz, and Jay Bell at number 9. That is an incredible 9. So I would be really curious to see how the Red Sox and how Major League Baseball pay homage to what is one of the best individual performances. It was ranked number 1 in terms of the best individual performances in All-Star game history, being Pedro, and just an absolutely iconic event from 30 years prior. Okay, we're going to pivot to the Patriots. Lots to make of their preseason opener, lots more to make from their return to the practice field today. We'll get to all of that and more next.